glad we're doing this. Okay,
Oh yeah,
say
me
something
too.
to me.
Okay, this is it's 10:30, the 23rd of February, right?
Yeah.
Ash Wednesday.
No, that was yesterday.
Yesterday.
Yeah, right.
Did Jim go and get his?
No, we're not that kind of Catholics, David.
Why not?
Well, for one thing, you don't have to.
No.
And for another thing, we're not that kind of Catholics.
Well, when I was at Edison Brothers, all the Catholic girls would
they
walk.
all would come out to ashes.
Well, we worked for a Jewish company, but they walk over to the cathedral, and that was a pretty good walk. And when they came back, they had the ashes, you know. And that's okay. I consider myself 90% Catholic, 10% Presbyterian, maybe, I don't know. But, you know, if I had to get back into a religion, you know, jump in feet first, I love what the Catholics do. In fact, I got a book here. I don't know, you've probably seen these, that I like to read. This is The Lives of the Saints. You ever seen that?
Yeah, I have.
The same kind of book?
No, but I've known. No, it's that's an old one.
This goes by the day. It starts in January and goes all the way through.
Mm.
And I've learned so much. I never.
Like the saint, whoever the patron saint is of that day.
Yes, yes, yes. Like for instance, today is what, February 23rd, and I try to keep up with it pretty good. You know, and I got to get a St. Christopher medal for Alyssa's car and Janine's car. I think it's good to have one in there. I had one in my car when I was younger all the time. Never had any problems. Alyssa's had 2 accidents, people pulling out in front of her. Janine's had 1, and a lot of close calls.
They drive crazy down here.
You know, and they said that St. Christopher isn't a saint anymore, you know.
What do they know?
Well, you know, this is Bishop and Confessor and Doctor of the Church, St. Peter Damian. A devoted collaborator of Pope St. Gregory VII, and like him, Benedictine, St. Peter Damian was one of the most glorious lights of the Church in the 11th century. Born in Ravenna, he became a Camaldese monk under Monastery. Oh, God. Usually right at the end they get beheaded, so that's the bad part. He wrote many works on theology. He's numbered as one of the doctors of the Church and died in 1072.
Wow.
1072. So that's what's going on today in the world of the saints.
Is he a patron saint of anything?
No. But you know, there's Joan of Arc's in here, all of them. Now tomorrow is Saint Matthias, the Apostle. And yeah, they said most of these people in here, the saints, they end their life by a glorious beheading and whatever. Most of them. Very few of them, you know, got by with what they were doing. They were beheaded, they were locked up, starved to death, or they had to escape, and they lived in caves for years, you know. But I don't know. You think all that's up to date? A lot of that's true?
Why not?
Yeah, okay.
We're a violent people, David.
Have been, always will be.
I think so.
Look what that guy's doing to his own people over there.
I know. Over in Syria?
Mm-hmm.
I know.
He says they're terrorists. You know, it's an uprising against the country, but he had his chance. He had 11 years since his dad died. He took over. Didn't do a damn thing for him. And guess what? They're only 5 blocks away from his hangout the other day, demonstrating. They're only 5 blocks away. He better watch out. He can never come out again. He can never stand on a balcony. He can never go out. They've killed 6,000 people. He can never, ever be seen in public again. So, you know.
I know.
And the Iranians, they sent 2 ships over there towards Syria. And I wouldn't doubt that they're going to offer him, if he can make his way there, they'll put him on board and take him back. You know, they love him because, you know, of the oil and stuff. You know.
Oh, sure.
Mm-hmm.
But he may not have control of that in the end.
Well, you know, they're defecting. The soldiers they don't want to kill their own people, so we don't know what's going to happen there. Hey, this is really good. You're going to take take them back.
I'm not taking anything back. I got too much stuff at home.
Okay.
Okay, I want to ask you a question.
Go ahead.
What year were you born?
1934.
That's what I thought.
April 15th.
I know that.
At 12:10 Sunday.
Was it 12:10 middle of the day?
Mm-hmm. I came for lunch, my mom said.
Because you're not that much... Mama was born in 27, so there's only 7 years between you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
We used to take baths in the wash tub, her and I, and we jumped up and down so hard we busted out the bottom of the tub. Her and I, we go out there, and we had a wash tub, and we'd fill it up with water, and your mom and I we'd jump up and down and beat it out. Zainab, no.
Well, no, Zainab was always...
Zainab was different.
Right.
But Zainab enters into everything that ever happened, because as soon as Zainab got out of high school, she headed for St. Louis. She was on her way, you know. And when she got here, we were living on the Enright, the 3rd floor, and she stayed with us. And then the girl downstairs, it was during the war, World War II. We were living there in 42 and 43. And Zainab come and stay with us. But the girl downstairs, Zainab wanted to get a job. And the girl downstairs, luckily, she worked for Edison Brothers. And she told Zainab, she says, you know, they're hiring girls because a lot of the guys are going in the Army. She said, go down there, and she told Zainab how to get there. And Zainab went down, got off the bus at the end of the line. You know, the bus turned around there. And there was Edison Brothers. That was at 315 Washington, where right now it's close to the casino and all that. It later was Trader Vic's. That building was Trader Vic's and all that stuff. But in the beginning, I think that was a hardware store building. One of the old hardware stores. But we got that building. We had the warehouse on the upper floors and our loading dock on the back, and then the office was on the 1st floor. All the girls that worked in the office were on the 1st floor. But Zainab went down and went in and wanted a job in the warehouse, and she got it. Dave Alden hired her.
Why did she want a job in the warehouse?
She just wanted a job.
Wow.
And they put her in the hosiery department, which she loved. And her and Dave Alden, they got along great. But he said, okay, you're hired. And she said, I just graduated high school. She said, I'll be back. And she went home, and she had an appendicitis attack. And so she called and told him that, you know, but she'd be back as soon as she got fixed up. Yeah, she had a real bad appendicitis attack. And when that was over, she did go back and work in the warehouse in the hosiery.
Did she have her appendix out?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yep. Okay. So then she comes back. She's staying with us. She's riding the Delmore bus from downtown every night when she got off, I think they got off at 4 or so. And I'm selling papers, okay, on the corner of Walton and Delmore. Here comes the Delmore bus, her first night on the job. The bus stops there right in front of Mavracka's Candy Company. Mavracka's Candy Company, you've heard of them. They were right on the corner. And I'm helping this guy sell papers. I was about 9, maybe 8 or 9 years old. And the guy would give me, he'd pay me 25 cents or a quarter to watch the corner while he delivered the papers. When the final edition came out, he had to go deliver people that wanted, there was a laundry there, Mavracka's, some other companies. And so I would watch the corner, and I thought I was selling papers, but I was kind of just watching. But I did. But anyway, here comes the bus, and there's Zainab, and the bus goes right by our stop. The next night, the bus goes right by our stop. She couldn't reach the cord. So she rode till somebody else got off. Probably at King's Highway or Euclid. There was Newstead, and then there was Euclid, and the next stop was King's Highway. And then she come walking back, and I never could figure it out. Finally, she told me, I said, you could have asked somebody to ring the bell. Nobody was getting off at that was Walton Avenue, Walton, Delmore and Walton. And I could see her. She was standing where you get off. You know, she's only about this high. And but she just kept going. And then she would walk back, you know, and then would come to our house and we would eat and stuff like that. And then eventually she went and stayed with some people named Keefers. They had a jewelry store on Cherokee. I don't know why. Well, we didn't have much room, and we had mice. One night she woke up with a mouse sitting on her forehead. We were on the 3rd floor. And for some reason, she met somebody, and they told her the Keepers were renting out rooms over on right off of Natural Bridge, and they had a jewelry store downtown. And she stayed with us quite a while. Well, no, what happened was we left Enright in 1943 in the summer, and we moved to Taylor and Delmore. And during that move, Zana went to Keefer. But then she came back and stayed with us when we lived on Taylor and Delmore. She had her own room there. We had more room. Yep.
Wow. Okay, I want you to talk to me about when Mama and Gaggy came to St. Louis. No, before that. I want to know before that. I remember you were telling me one time that you and Mama and I guess Sonny were looking at a carnival. There was a carnival going on.
We went to the carnival in Staunton.
Tell me about that.
And the dogs...
What year was that?
All right, let me go back just a little bit. That would have been probably about... Layla and Zane weren't there. It was probably about 1939,
Okay.
before the war. And my dad, I didn't know where he was at, but he ended up showing up at the carnival. But when we got in the truck to go to Staunton, it was raining, and the dogs, Zeke and another dog that was there, no, who was there? Wowie. We were living across from the school then, and Wowie and another dog we had there, they thought we were leaving. So when Grandma got in the truck, and your mom got in the truck, Zana wasn't there then for that thing. It was me and Grandma and Grandpa and your mom, and we headed for Staunton. Why we went to the carnival, I don't know. Maybe we heard that my dad was going to box somebody there. But when we got there, it was raining. The dogs were stepping on the wires, running from the merry-go-round to the carnivals, and they were jumping. Sparks were flying. But anyway, next thing I know, I don't remember much else, but we were ringside, and this guy would offer like $20 to anybody that could go a couple rounds with him. Okay. Well, my dad. Next thing I know, my dad got up in there, and they were boxing around and wrestling, half boxing, and my dad went down. The guy jumped on his chest like a wrestler and started twisting his nose. And your mom and Grandma, they had the umbrellas, and they climbed into the ring and started beating the guy with their umbrellas.
Really?
Oh yeah, yeah, yep. My dad isn't here to back that story up, but that's what happened. Every time the Far Hats went anywhere, it was fun. Something was going to happen, you know. So anyway, we came back home, and I think the dogs thought we were leaving town because the dogs followed us all the way there. Wowie and another dog we had. But anyway, that's what happened.
I want to talk about, but I thought there was a carnival where Mama didn't get to go. And she was talking about how beautiful it was and how she wanted to, it was like a quarter or something to get in, but she didn't have it. And she just said, no
carnivals around there charge you to get in. There was Livingston had what they called a homecoming, and Staunton had on the 4th of July. They had a carnival, but
maybe it was just the rides. You had to pay to get on the rides.
Oh yeah, the rides weren't free. You had to pay.
And did you guys get to go on the rides?
Yeah, but Grandpa he didn't give us that much money. He didn't have that much money. But where we lived by the school, you could hear the carnival activity where what they call Livingston had a fairgrounds, and they had a platform there, and Zainab would go, and now your mom would go, and everybody would go. And it was a homecoming. Everybody that even had left town during the war came back to Livingston for the homecoming. Allie went later, my dad, Zane, they all went back. You could go back, and they'd all say, oh yeah, what you doing? They're talking about it. Well, it did cost money to do the rides. They had a Ferris wheel and a merry-go-round. That was about it.
And you guys didn't get to go on them, or?
Yeah. We would get money from Grandpa. Not much. He'd give us maybe 75 cents. But they always had a fish stand there where they cooked fish. Millennials had a fish stand there. And Grandpa would give us some money to go get a fish sandwich for him and bring him back. Grandma never deep fried any fish, but she did know how to cook fish, like jack salmon. But they had it there already cooked up, and we would get him a sandwich and take it back. And that's what went on with that.
Okay. When Mama and Gaggy moved to St. Louis, how old was Mama when that happened?
All right, well, the first time they come, they didn't stay.
No, I didn't know that.
They went back.
Well, tell me about it.
Well, let's see if I can get the time right. We were living on Taylor and Delmar in the war was over. It was probably about 1946 or 47. After the war, Allie had come home, and they got mad at Grandpa, and they came to our place, and they moved in on the third floor. There was a barber shop on the first floor. We had the second floor, then a stairway, and there was a big room, 2 big rooms upstairs and a bathroom, and your mom and Grandma moved in there. And they were there for a while, and I was thrilled to death because they were there, and then Grandpa he would come, and he'd drive all the way to St. Louis. How he managed, I don't know. And he'd park his truck in the alley, and then he'd come upstairs, mostly in our part, and him and your mom would talk. I don't think he went upstairs and talked to Grandma very much. And then they talked, and after 2 or 3 trips of him coming up there, they decided that Alia would go back. She felt sorry for him. So they piled into the truck, and away they went. Down the alley they went. In the back of the truck. He didn't have a car, they rode in the back of the truck. And they went back to Livingston. So that was good for me, because then they were back there, and I like to see Grandpa and them. Then they come back again.
When was that?
Probably 48, no, about 1949 they came. They went back home for a couple of years. And then he got, to the point where he was really hard to get along with, and they couldn't stay there anymore. So they came and they stayed with us for a while. And your mom, they got a place over on Lindell. They also had, when they moved from there, they had a place on West Pine down close to Vanaventer. But anyway, they came there, and your mom got a job. I think she was working at that time for Maritz. I think I told you that. Was that a wholesale company, Maritz?
Yeah, I didn't know she worked at Maritz.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so then he came a couple times, but by that time, he had gotten so bad that my dad had him taken over to Alton. He was imagining things and talking out of his head, and he couldn't do his business anymore. So he ended up going to Alton in about 1949. Yeah, and then your mom and Grandma, they moved to West Pine, and let's see where'd they go after that. They went to Grand Avenue to 1615, and Grandma was running the boarding house for the guys that were going to school on a GI Bill next door. That included George and Doc and some other boys, and they all lived in 1615, and that's where your mom met Doc.
Jesus.
Your grandma threw this lady down the steps and broke her arm.
What?
Yeah.
Tell me that. I don't know that.
There was a couple that had rented an apartment in the basement of this house. It was a big 3-story brick. And her and this lady got into it about something. And Grandma threw her ass down the steps and she broke her arm. And the police come. And you can ask Zane about that. He remembers it. And then the police wanted to know what happened. And Grandma said, oh, the poor lady, she fell. And the woman was too scared to say anything else. But her and Grandma have been having trouble off and on.
What about?
I don't know. Either who was sharing what or with. I don't think there was a kitchen down below. There was a kitchen on the first floor, and Grandma was cooking all the time for all them boys, and your mom was working, and Doc lived there too at that time, and Grandma was cooking for these kids and everything. And George was there too. Layla's husband, George, was going to that school, and that's how, Doc and George got friendly.
And that's how George met Layla?
Eventually, yeah.
Jesus.
But they stayed there for a long time, and the guy that owned the place, he had money. He lived out in Clayton, and he had a real nice old antique car, and he really liked your grandma, and she could have stayed there for a long time. Let's see what happened after that.
Why didn't she stay?
That's what I'm coming to. Let's see. Oh, when your mom and Doc took off and got married, Grandma went with them. They left, and your mom and Doc got married. And when they come back, they didn't go back to their grandma, just give it up.
Mama got married in 1950. And Gaggy went with her? I thought she didn't. I thought Mama
To get married.
Oh, Gaggy went with her to get married. And she got married up in Maryland.
And they were up there for about a week. And they came back, and I think they rented that place down there on Louisiana. Right?
I don't know.
Yeah, they rented that place on Louisiana, right off of Grand, not too far from Children's Hospital. You could walk up there, Cardinal Glennon Hospital. And they stayed there for a long time, I guess a year or two, and your mom went to work for Andy Berger Ford. Yeah, because, Alia was kind of his favorite,
I thought Zainab was.
Maybe when she was little, but not later on. Because Zainab, when she was, growing up, maybe 9, 10, 11, 12, but Alia was the one that read him the paper every Sunday. And Alia was the one that rubbed his feet. And Alia was the one that probably talked to him more than Grandma when they were living down in Livingston, Although Grandma and him, they got along. They played pinochle almost every night.
Who?
Grandma and Grandpa. They played pinochle. There was no TV. I think we had a radio. Yeah, we had a radio, but they played pinochle every night. But Alia was the one that was really close to him.
Why did she read him the paper?
She was, he probably couldn't read the Sunday paper. I think we got the Star didn't have a Sunday paper. We got the Star Times during the week, and then on Sunday I think we got the Post Dispatch. No, it was the Globe Democrat Sunday paper. We didn't get the Post. And she was a fast reader, and on Sunday morning he would be having his coffee, and Alia would get the paper, and she would sit there next to him, and he would laugh, and she would read all of the funny things that they had going on. It was during the war, though, at that time. And then we kept up with what was going on, in the Navy with the warships and everything. We never knew when we were going to get that telegram that Allie was missing or something like that. He was really lucky.
Right.
Yeah, he was bad enough before he went in, but after that experience, he was the youngest one of the youngest on that ship. And out of that ship, there was a couple hundred guys on that destroyer escort, and at least half of them got killed by machine gun fire, and they got hit twice by kamikaze planes. Yeah, Allie saw an awful lot, and I think it changed him. He was kind of wild before that, but it changed him after that. I think it did. He'd get back on a Monday or Tuesday with his load of stuff. He was gone the rest of the week. Things were probably good for them when they had the store in downtown Livingston. That was good. And then when he bought the other store, the big store, boy, that must have been nice. They had ceiling fans, 50 feet of refrigeration, spices from all over the world. It smelled like Soulard Market. Really. And Grandma run the store, and the kids were little, and I think that was the best of their time. But when they left there, and they went over there, Grandpa had to hit the road with that truck, and it was altogether different, you know.
When was it that they had
The fire?
Yeah, the fire. The fire was at the big store, right?
Dr. Berry's office next door. They brought a guy in who was in an automobile wreck, and while he was waiting for the doctor, he was smoking. The doctor patched him up, and when he left, one of his cigarettes landed on the couch in the waiting room, which was next door to the store, and the fire started. And Grandpa had 50-gallon drums of gasoline stored in the garage. It was during the war when you couldn't get gas, and he wanted to make sure he always had gas for his truck. And him and Grandma had to roll them drums out of the garage into the street in case the fire got. But it stopped when it got your Zainab and your mom's bedroom. It stopped right there. But the roof was bad and the inside smelled terrible. We could close that door. And then there was a bedroom, and then there was the kitchen. Yeah, and then, yeah, but Zainab and Alia's bedroom got pretty well scorched up, but then they put it out. It was volunteer fire department. When you wanted the fire truck, you had to go to the fire department, open the door, pull the rope. There was electricity going in there, and the little fire truck was sitting in there. And they took it out once a week and drove it around to make sure that it would start. But you went there and pulled it in, and you had to stand there. I got enough here to reach it. You had to stand there until the volunteer fire department would come. Okay.
Okay, say that sentence
I never worried about Grandpa dying, or Alia, or anybody except Grandma. And every time we pass this one cemetery, I can see it now. I think it's a Lutheran. It's got a red spire on it, and there's a cemetery right there. And I think, my God, that's where they bury people. And I always worried about Grandma dying until she really did. I always worried about her dying. I don't know why. And nobody else. I never worried about even my own relatives. I saved my dad's life, you know. He got Teen's husband tried to kill him, you know.
Tell me that story.
It ain't a story. It's the truth.
No, but I mean, tell me.
Well, him and Eddie broke into the gym.
Joe.
Yeah, him and my friend Eddie busted the lock on the garage down at a little storage place and they rolled the tires down the alley. And Beachy, our neighbor across the way, she's nosy. She's seen him and she told Jim. So her husband, Red, was his name, Red Matlock. One Saturday they got good and drunk and they're sitting on the porch, and Jim didn't like my dad because I think Dad was friendly with Teen, too friendly. You know, Teen was about 20 years younger than Jim. He worked at General Motors, country guy, wore overalls and had a pickup truck, and my dad would borrow his car. Well, he had a car too, a Packard that he took to go see, who was up there then? They took the Packard and went to see when Grandma and your mom was living up there for a little bit. Long story about that. But anyway, I came home. Luckily, I came the back way, and I parked, and I went up the steps, and there's Jim and Red sitting there. And they said, "When'd your old man get hurt?" I said, "Well, I don't know. It's when he's going to get off for sure." And they were drinking, you know, and yeah, he stole my tires. I said, "I don't know nothing about it." So I thought, well, what am I going to do now? So finally, I waited and waited and waited. Thank God I didn't take off. My dad was 37, 38. I was 16. And he was 21 when I was born in 34. So he was about 30. He was under 40, 37, 38. Billy and Bobby were little. Johnny was little. Zane and Layla. and Billy and Bobby and me living there. And so what am I going to do? So finally, I kept watching for him. Sure enough, he pulled in the back. He pulled in the back. Yeah, he pulled in the back. And when he got out of the car, I said, Pop, I said, Red and Jim are up there. They're on the back porch. And we had to cross their porch to get to our back porch and go in our kitchen. I said, they're up there. He says, okay. So he goes up the steps. And Jim stands up. They started arguing, and my dad slapped his face. So Jim, while he was talking, he had the screen door open on his place like this and talking to my dad. My dad smacked him across the face. I think Red knew there was going to be trouble. He took off, probably on the other porch. And so I'm standing right there. So he reaches into his kitchen screen door, and on the back of his door he had a denim jacket like they wear, like a Levi jacket with the gun in it, you know. And he pulled that gun out, and my dad turned, was walking about 10 feet toward our back porch, which is they were wide open. One went to the other, and he pulled that gun out and he pointed it at my dad's back. And I was standing there next to Jim, and I grabbed his wrist and pushed it up in the air, and my dad kept going, and the screen door was still open. Yeah, screen door was still open. He kind of turned, and I pushed it up, and he was drinking, and he stumbled back, and I pushed him back, and him and I went through into his kitchen, and he went into the back of his refrigerator that he had just bought, and his back hit the refrigerator, and he slid down to the floor and flat on his back with me on top of him, and he's waving the gun around in my face. And my dad remembered when he crossed Delmore to come around and park in the back, he saw a detective car parked there. They were always around our corner. It was a black, and he used to know all those cops. He rode with the detectives a lot of times at night looking for trouble. They'd let him ride along. So he went through our kitchen, and then Teen slammed the big door shut. The big kitchen door, not the screen door. That closed up by itself, but she closed the big kitchen door and locked it. And Grandpa Abraham was there that Saturday. And he came out, he knew there was trouble, and I saw him looking through the window. I was turning my head a little bit, and he was up there looking. He couldn't get in. He didn't know what was going on. But my dad went down, left me, I guess nothing else he could do, and went down and got the detectives. And they came up our steps, came through our house, and came onto the porch. And they said, open up, police, you know. He wouldn't let loose of that gun. He had his finger on the trigger and was going like this right in front of my face. So finally, Teen took the gun, pulled the gun out of his hand, and she ran into the front room with it. And she opened the door for the detectives. And they said, where's the gun? And she said, there wasn't no gun. He said, well, he says, we know there was. He said, no, there wasn't no gun. It was just an argument, you know. But he had that pointed at my dad's back. If you'd have shot him in the back, it would have blew his lungs out, probably. He'd have died right there on our back porch. I don't know. I was going with Donna at the time. But I don't know what would have happened to my mom and dad. I mean, but Eddie could have got me killed. And Pop talked Eddie into picking that lock or busting the lock and helping him roll the tires down the road. But he could have got me killed. That gun could have went off right. Could have killed him, really. He mentioned it a couple of times. Yeah, you saved me that time, you know. But he didn't turn, and when we went into the room, he could have busted the door down and got to, but he took off, you know. Oh, yeah. He took off.
Whatever happened to Eddie?
Got cancer and died. He had a brain tumor, and he got that fixed. And then a year or two later, he called Stella, his sister. He says, Stella, you know what? He says, I can't remember anything. I can't remember this. I can't remember that. And it got worse and worse, and he went to a nursing home, and eventually he died of something. But he went to Christian Hospital and had an operation, and he had something on his brain, and and then he died. He got hit in the face by a baseball when he was a kid at Fairgrounds Park.
Is that why he's blind?
Today they would probably maybe done something about it. But he never had a car accident, never. He drove all the time and never had any trouble at all. Okay, now what?
I want to know.
Am I still hooked up?
You're still hooked up. Let me look at that. Make sure you don't turn that off. This is very important to me, David. It's really important.
Yeah, well, there's, you know, I thought about maybe getting Zane in on this, but he talked to Grandma a lot, and your mom. You know, when you were on Blaine, he walked over there every night. He didn't have a car. He walked over Tower Grove and went over the viaduct, and he went over there every night to see Grandma. And he sat there till a couple hours, and him and her would talk, and then he'd come home. He went over there faithfully at night, and on the weekends maybe even too, he'd walk over there. Boo-hoo. Introduction by Guy Lombardo, Alley Cat, repeat for New York. Camo X was there, and they taped it onto this record. Ain't that something? Huh? I feel like I'm getting electrocuted.
You're not getting electrocuted. Hold on.
Okay. Okay, now look, I'm going to put this somewhere else. Right now I'm going to set it there because I don't want to get mixed up with it. But I wanted to show you some of this stuff.
Show me.
All right, here. That's really good. You can look up a lot of songs in there. Okay?
I love the way you write lyrics.
Oh, yeah, I'm a lyric man. And I read this whole book.
Really?
And I know most of the song. Turn to any page and I can tell you the words. My Merry Oldsmobile. Okay. We used to sing this when we were kids. I don't want to play in your yard. I don't like you anymore. You'll be sorry when you see me sliding down our cellar door. You can holler down our rain barrel. You can't climb our apple tree. I don't want to play in your yard if you won't be good to me. That's a song.
I remember that. I remember Gabby used to
Yes,
say it.
yeah, she used to. Everybody had a cellar door in those days. How are you going to keep them down on the farm? I know most of these songs. Go Down Moses, yeah. Frankie and Johnny, For Me and My Gal. Jolly Fellow, Foggy Foggy Dew. There's some real sad songs in here. Down Among the Sheltering Palms. Zany knows most of these songs too. Dardanella. Darktown Strutter's Ball. Chisholm Trail. Calvary Song. Carolina in the Morning, Nothing Could Be Finer. Silvery Moon. Here. Remember that song I wrote one time? The words to that one that I played for you and Jim? Well, I found out through this book there was a guy that put words to that.
Read it to me.
I got the music, but this guy put words to it. It's called Bring a Torch, Jeanette Isabella. Bring a Torch to the Cradle Run. And he did that in 1860 or so. So there's the words to it. But you know, it's old-time words. Mine are up to date. This is about Jesus. It's like a Christmas song.
Wow.
And I found out that there was somebody, it's a French Noel. English words, Edward Nunn. About 1860. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I like that song, too. Annabelle Lee. Your mom used to recite that a lot.
The Poe?
She liked The Raven and Annabelle Lee. Yeah, we'd be walking down the road and she'd be repeating that song. Alouette, Alice Blue Gown, after you've gone and left me crying after you've gone, there's no denying you'll feel blue, you'll feel sad, you'll miss the bestest pal you ever had. Anyway, there's 500 songs in there, okay?
Okay, I want you to stop a minute.
Okay.
Because I'm going to switch batteries.
Okay.
Gaggy set fire to the curtains one time?
Yep.
Tell me about that.
Him and her got in an argument about something, and she rolled up some newspaper and lit it, and went over and was gonna. This was in where the store was, in that place. It was probably after the fire, and she was gonna burn the place down. That's all I know about that.
Tell me about Gaggy, because you knew her when she was younger.
Yeah. Sure. Well, I was born in '34, and she was born in 1888. So in 18, that's 12 to get to 1900. So in '34, she would have been 46. Started taking care of me at age 46. And I thought she was an old lady then.
Yeah.
So when she was 50, I was 4 years old. And that was it. I wanted to be around her and Grandpa all the time. And she was really good to us, me and Zane. Zane and Layla didn't come there much. Zane did. Layla hardly ever. But she would come to the door with her apron, and me and Robert or Zane, we'd pick apples, and she'd come to the door, and we'd put the apples in her apron. She'd go inside and cut them up and make us a pie. She could make a pie in 10 minutes. She rolled out her own dough and made her own bread. Did all that. They baked all the time. And it was so hot in there. And she baked winter and summer in a great big old iron stove that we had in the other place that they brought to this place. And they had big oven on it, and it had a top light and everything. But even in the summertime, she had to fire that up to cook on. Didn't even have coal oil stove, which would have been cooler. We'd get so hot in that kitchen, she had to go outside. When she was on Sunday, it was 100 degrees outside. She's in there with a roaring fire, baking chicken. She always baked something on Sunday. She didn't fry very much. She'd fry a round steak, but most of the time she baked stuff, especially on the weekends. She'd bake chickens and dressing, and then she'd make pies. She made her own dessert. We never bought a pie. We never had Twinkies, or we never had any cookies there, or nothing like that. No peanut butter. Yep.
Do you think, what do you know about Gaggy's own life growing up?
Not much. I know that she rode a horse when she was younger.
Tucky.
Yeah. And that, I don't know much after that. I don't know. I think when she met Grandpa, weren't they living in Gillespie where we went that day? And her Aunt Vivian lived in town. And Grandpa knew Grandma, and he knew Vivian. I don't know if Vivian was married, living in town, or not. I never cared for Vivian very much. She was strange. Carried a gun. She lived in Texas, and where that town she lived in was a frontier town then, like it was 150 years ago. Borger, Borger, Texas. And that's where she lived. It was a wild, gun-toting frontier town till the end. And she had a lot of stories. She carried a pistol in her purse, smoked, which was fascinating. She would sit there and smoke, and she'd get in her purse and put the pistol on the table. She had a little revolver, and she smoked. And I don't remember drinking, but she would drink coffee and stuff, and she had some nice rings on and everything. I didn't care for her too much. But she came a lot. She visited a lot.
So it was Gaggy, Vivian, Carrie, and Gaggy had an older brother, Michael, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Gaggy Michael was the oldest, and then it was Anna, and then Vivian and Carrie? Was Gaggy the oldest girl?
You know, I don't know.
Okay.
Zane might. I can fill you in on some of that stuff.
Okay. And I know Gaggy's brother Michael was killed in the mine. She told me he came and saw her after he died. That he came to her in a dream.
Well, so many boys got killed in the mine.
Right.
Was that in around Gillespie, or was that when she was younger and when she was in Virginia?
I don't know. I see this. All this history is gone.
I'll tell you what. I'm going to talk to Zane and write stuff down, and you can fill it in your book. You know, but there's a lost time there between when Grandma. Well, she got married when she was 14 or 15 to Julius.
13. I know she was
And
married
she
at
went with
13
him.
to
Well,
Julius.
then that. And he worked in the mine. He was a supervisor. He had a good job.
But he was really mean to her, she told me.
Back in those days, those guys were. Women, you know, they didn't. You know, up in Canada, you know, when they wanted to go explore Canada and get farmers started and everything.
Turn that off.
No, I'm not.
Okay. I just want to make
They
sure.
advertised over in Europe for women to come to Canada, and guess what? They came, about 100, and these guys would pick out one and head out to a farm. It was a miserable life. I got a book on it. You ought to read it sometime.
And,
Okay.
And I heard that Julius and Gaggy's mother, Bridget, had an affair. That's what I was told, and that she impersonated Gaggy because he was 37 or 39 when they got married, and married to settle a debt that Grandpa Brandt had. And
I never knew about that.
yeah, and that but Bridget was seeing him for years. It went on for years, and you know Bridget was divorced too before she married Grandpa Brandt.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Mama had told me some stuff, and then Zainab told me. You know, Zainab would never talk about it. I would ask her questions, and she would just go,
Zainab.
"What was her deal?"
Zainab wasn't worried about none of that stuff.
It wasn't her history, was it?
No, Zainab didn't care if she was a descendant of Jesus Christ. She didn't care. She would, where's the next sale? Where's Ken? What's going on? You know, Zainab didn't look back very much.
I don't think that's a good way to be. I think that was a real shallow way to be.
Yeah, Zainab was, you know, it was day by day, what was going to happen today and tomorrow. She didn't think about it. I don't know, maybe that's good. We went to the zoo, you know, our trip to the zoo in the truck. They only went on account of me, you know, they wanted to take me to the zoo. We were all in the truck, in the back, and Zainab, Grandma, in her rocking chair. We put her rocking chair up in the back of the truck. And Allie and Grandpa sat up front. And Allie told us if we wanted to stop, anything went wrong, and the door was open. They opened up this big open door on the side, and we could see. And Grandma thought we were going to get in a wreck, because you could see, we looked like we were off the line. All we could see was the ditch. But really, we were on the concrete, and we drove from Livingston to the arena where we had a park. They wouldn't let a truck go into the zoo. And Allie carried me on his shoulders quite a bit. Grandpa we had a big picnic basket with fried chicken and all the stuff that Grandma made that morning. And we headed for St. Louis about 11 o'clock, I guess. And we had a park on the arena parking lot. You know where Imo's is on the corner there now? We crossed that viaduct there and we went into the zoo. And we had the best time. You know, Grandpa wanted to see the camels immediately. We headed where we could see the camels and the ostriches, and we seen it all. They wouldn't let that big a truck go into the zoo. No, no trucks could go in the zoo. Now I think pickup trucks can go in there, maybe even any UPS truck or anything. Well, we went to the zoo. It was the best time. And Grandma could really cook. We had fried chicken and all the stuff to go with it, and we had a table, and we had a real good time. And right before you get to where we were going, this guy was on the corner selling balloons, and Zainab bought a balloon. She reached out, and when the light changed, or wherever we went, she got her balloon, and the guy didn't give her change. And she was screaming at the top of her lungs for Grandpa to stop so she could get her change. And we stayed there. I think it was a nice day, no rain or nothing. I remember that. And then we went home, but we never went back again. But I never, like I said, I never saw Grandma and Grandpa, arguing and fighting about nothing. No cussing, no arguing, no nothing. It was just a Mexican standoff. They were courteous to each other, always.
But what do you mean a Mexican standoff?
Well, that's an expression,
I know, but how do you...
They never argued about nothing. He never told her nothing, and she never told, don't park the truck too close to the house. Why didn't you bring in a watermelon? Do this, or David wants this, or Alia wants this, or nothing. Nothing. Not much communication at all. They laughed at each other. They would laugh about something funny that happened around the house. And when they played cards, they would laugh about who was winning, who was losing, and they'd play for at least an hour and a half or two almost every night. They'd play pinochle.
Mama told me that when Grandpa Abraham lost his mind, that they called the police.
They did?
And that the sheriff was afraid to come in, and Mama said she grabbed 2 knives from the store and backed her and Gaggy out of the house because the police wouldn't come in and help. Do you know anything? I mean,
that was across from the school, and they called my dad somehow. He went and rented a car, a Ford, and we went down there 80, 90 miles an hour, and my dad went in. In the meantime, Grandma and Alia had called Mr. Perney. I think they were at Perney's house. They said he got real bad that night. They never went back after that. He kind of acted like he was going to do something. They said, I don't know all the details, but it was pretty bad, I guess. And so either Mr. Perney or somebody called the Illinois State Patrol, and the cop car showed up there. And they wouldn't go in because Grandma told them, or someone told them, that he had guns in there. Well, by the time my dad got there, I was there. We were all in the car. We could have got killed that night. My dad was driving 80 miles an hour down in the middle of the night. How they got in touch with us, I don't know. Usually telegrams. We didn't have a phone. We could go to if we called there, or Grandma got a call, we had to go up to Pomato's grocery store. He left the phone off the hook and go up and answer the phone. But anyway, when my dad went in, my grandpa said there was nothing wrong. He said, "What's the matter, Joe?" He said, "Oh, I didn't do anything. And that was the end of that. And we left after that. I think Grandma and Alia, did they go back there after that? Maybe. I can't remember, because they didn't come back with us in the car. There wouldn't have been any room. They'd have had to bring clothes, so they didn't come back with us. I don't know where they stayed or what they did. I think they went back to the house. It's like a domestic dispute now you got, and the cops come and it blows over. I think that's about what happened.
why were Joe and Allie so mean to Mama?
Money.
Tell me, what do you mean?
I guess they figured they could get more money out of her. Stuff like that.
If they were mean to her?
No, but maybe they figured that they would scare her into giving her more money. Allie didn't go around your mom as much as my dad. Or Allie was maybe mean to her or smart to her because he knew that Allie had any money, she'd give it to my dad. I don't think she ever gave Allie a dime. He never got anything, but my dad did.
Well, I know that when Joe and Allie got into trouble up in Chicago for embezzling from the Shermans, she got them.
Yeah, she went. That old gal. He went to
Shermans.
Cook County.
They both went to Cook County.
Yeah. Well, Allie got out right away. My dad was there over the weekend, and your grandma and Allie were going crazy, and Zainab. So I didn't know what was going on. So finally, I went upstairs to see Mr. Newman, and I told him what happened. I said, I got to find out. I said, he was our company lawyer. He was married to one of the Edison brothers' daughter, Evelyn Newman. She's in charge of, she found Forest Park Forever. That's Evelyn Newman. That was her husband. And he knew me because I always mailed packages for him. He was a coin collector. I mailed coins all over the world for him. So I called his secretary, and I said, this is David downstairs. She knew me. She said, I got to see Mr. Newman. She said, hold on a minute. He said, come right up. I got the elevator, went in his office. I told him what happened. He said, wait 1 minute. So he called in Dave Alton's son, who was working there. And he came in his office. He said, David's dad's in trouble in Chicago. And he says, aren't you going to Chicago next week? And he traveled for the company. He said, yeah, I am. I'm going up there. He said, well, go up there and find out what's going on. So that was a Friday. And so late Monday afternoon, he called me. He said, David, come up. I want you to come up here. And he told me what it was.
He embezzled.
Yeah. Well, I knew that part of it. But he was telling me what it would take to get him out. So I think I got $250 or something like that together. Maybe Zany kicked in some money too. But he got out. He was only in there from the weekend. I don't know I didn't know how. Did Allie go there too? Really?
Joe turned in Allie, and Allie went to jail. And then Joe did the same thing. But they were then on to him. And then Joe went to jail.
Well, Allie didn't.
And we were living illegally in that building. Every night John had to sleep in a different apartment.
Yeah.
And we were in this, they said that it was a vacant apartment. And it was just one room studio, and it had a bed in it. A bed that, and Mama, it either had a bed that came out of the wall, I think it did, like a Murphy bed.
Yeah.
And then there was another bed, and so I slept with Gaggy, and Mama slept in a bed, and John slept in different empty apartments.
I'm trying to think of what you said about Allie being mean to your mom. They weren't in contact that much, face to face. But there was something. You got something right about that, because Allie would smart off to her. My dad never smarted off to your mom.
Your dad was dark, calculating.
Oh yeah, he was always 2 steps ahead of everybody.
Like when we kept Marie,
Manchester.
And she killed my cat.
She was nutty.
Oh, she was crazy.
Hey, that Manchester's getting a hot place to go now, isn't it? From Kings Highway all the way to White Castle. Mm-hmm. I knew it. I knew that'd come back someday. Nice building, brick buildings, a lot of room, restaurants, a lot of gay bars in there now, stuff like that.
Yeah.
A big grocery store across the street. I wonder what's in there right now.
There's a grocery in there now, because I'm down in that area all the time. I go to Barnes and work. They're one of my clients, and I always take 44 to Kings Highway and just go down Manchester and cut over to Taylor.
Yeah, and that girl opened that Sweetie Pie restaurant in that old Blitz building on the corner, that Blitz Tavern.
I've eaten there.
Yeah?
I've eaten there.
Sweetie Pies.
Yeah, it's good.
You bet.
It's good. I got liver and onions and mashed potatoes there one day.
Oh, yeah.
I remember that. That's
I
when,
always thought that'd be a great building because there was living quarters upstairs over the tavern. It was called Blitz Tavern.
right. I remember it. When I was a kid.
They had two kinds of beer. You could go in there any time and get a light or dark beer.
I didn't know that. Well,
Yeah.
of course, you know.
You could get a light. Me and Eddie went in there one time. Eddie didn't drink, and I had a beer or two, and I talked Eddie into drinking the beer. We headed over to Tower Grove, and we got to Tower Grove Park. He was on the grass. Poor Eddie. He only had 2 beers, and he couldn't drive. We got, you go, the one road goes this way and that way, and when you go into Tower Grove Park, well, he kept going. We were on the grass. Poor Eddie.
When was the last time you talked to my mom?
I went there with Dustin. Dustin was a baby, and she had that apartment not too far from Grace Hill, where
Over
she
on
died.
St. Louis Avenue when she died.
Yeah, it was on a side street.
Yeah.
And I went in there with Dustin. I drove over there, just me and him. And I was holding him, and she was in bed, and we were talking. And I told her, yeah, I said, I take care of him all the time. She said, yeah, I said, everybody needs somebody. And we talked a little bit, and that was the last time I talked to her.
How much later did she die?
2 or 3 days after that. I think that was a Saturday or so.
Did she ever talk to you about killing herself?
Never. Or anybody else. Now, Grandma would. Grandma said, I'll kill that black-hearted son of a bitch. But your mom wouldn't kill anybody. She wouldn't swat a fly. Wasn't like that, but Grandma would. Grandma might have somewhere in her past. Who knows? Grandma was capable. I wouldn't doubt my dad might have done somebody in.
I know he did. Engelman told us that I was in the chair because we went there to get me some, dental care when Mama didn't have anything. And
Well, he was dating Engelman's sister a little bit.
well, Engelman told my mom in front of me, and I was a kid. He said, "There's blood on your brother's hands." He said, "We've killed. We've killed together." And he said that to my mom.
Yeah, he blew up a car on King's Grand in Arsenal. That lady had the beauty parlor. When she come out, he blew her car up because something about money. And then Engelman waited in the garage on the east side until that old couple come home, and he got him with a crowbar, killed both of them. He was a dirty, rotten killer. This girl worked for him, and he talked her into bringing her husband to Six Flags and told her that take him into the woods to see something, and Engelman killed him for her insurance money. And then he had enough nerve to go to the funeral parlor. He was. You remember that movie with Jodie Foster and the killer? The guy that was Hannibal.
Oh.
Yeah, he was Hannibal. I don't know. Did he ever die in prison down at Marion, or is he still alive?
He's dead. He's dead.
He was a barn killer, and they figured out he killed 7 or 8 people.
He said he killed people with Joe.
He might have just been talking.
I don't think so. You know as well as I do that Joe was capable of it.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it, yeah. But I never knew of anybody. When I was a kid growing up, when he was around, I know he beat people up a lot and left them. They might have died later. He was strong. He loved to get in a fight all the time. He fought everywhere he went. He'd get in a fight.
Why did he drive around with the detectives?
At Taylor and Delmore, he'd get off late sometimes, he'd go up on the corner with detective cars parked there all, and he would go over and talk to them about the neighborhood and this and that. And they put him in the back seat and drove him around. There wasn't nothing going on in those days.
Did he ever get involved in anything?
No. We had all kind of characters around the corner. We had a guy named Whitey. He was a professional safecracker. And when the Greenleaf's money, half of it was missing from the Greenleaf's kidnapping.
I didn't know this.
Well, Bobby Greenleaf, they came and picked him up from the boarding school where he went to school. Bonnie and Hetty. They gassed both of them on the same night, Bonnie and Hetty. And she smothered Bobby in the back seat while he was driving to their place in Missouri somewhere. They already had a grave dug. They had no intentions. And they asked for $500,000 in ransom, which was picked up. They drove to St. Louis with the money. They caught him. Louis Shoulders, the detective that was in on this, they took him to jail. And then half of the money disappeared. They said that before that, the man called a cab, and he rode around in a cab, and he was seen at a hardware store buying a shovel, and they think he buried that money around Creve Coeur Lake somewhere. That was the story that went out. Never found it. But Louis Shoulders, and they found out later that Louis Shoulders took half of that money. It was in cash, and he kept it. But anyway, Whitey, he was a little short guy, he had white hair. He was the one, he drank a lot. One night I was selling paper, he came up to me and he says, "The cops are going to pick me up." I said, "Yeah." I said, "What for?" He said, "I don't know for sure." He said, "But they told me they wanted to see me." So detective car come by and they took off with him. He was gone a couple hours and he came, but they brought him back to the coroner. I said, "What was up?" They took him over on Olive Street to a building where there was a safe. They thought that money was in there, and they got Whitey to get that safe open. He was a professional safecracker. He didn't have to blow him up. He could just click, 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 you know. And he told me that when they opened it up, there was no money in there. Never did get that other. Half of that $500,000 was missing.
And nobody ever found it?
Mm-mm. Louis Shoulder and another detective took it, they think, and they kept it.
Were you around when Mama went to Shirtlift College?
Yep.
Tell me about that.
It was a big deal. We were getting ready all summer, and we got Helen Slopko. She lived across the street from the store when they had the store. She had a car, and they made arrangements for her to come that morning and pick their mom up and take her to school. It was a big deal. It went on for weeks, getting your mom ready. She didn't have much. You know, any clothes they ever got, they had to get through Sears catalog and stuff like that, you know. And I thought it was awful. Your mom going away, and then would Grandma be there by herself, because Anna wasn't there then. Your mom lasted, I think, 2 days and came back. That was the end of that. I don't think she was there over 2 days.
Was she at Shirtlift?
Yeah.
But she said she used to go to, Grandpa would drop her off, I thought she said at college, and he'd give her a quarter every day. Did she take classes somewhere else?
That could have been, he drove her up maybe to high school.
Up to the high school?
It was a long walk from where we lived then. It would be like walking from here to, oh hell, long, like from your house, not to the train station, but pretty far. It was a long walk in the wintertime. I don't know how her and Zainab did it. Allie was the youngest. The boys dropped out of high school in Livingston when the war broke out. All the boys in there that were old enough joined the Army. Allie joined the Navy. But Grandpa didn't drive her to college. He never went to college anywhere else. And she was only at Shirtlift a short time. And she came back. She didn't like it.
How did Gaggy feel about that? Did Gaggy want her to come home or want her to go?
She didn't say one way or the other. she wanted Alia to go. You know, it was college, and I guess some other girls from around Livingston might have went there. Alia had a few friends around there, not many. Corrine Benoni was one of them, and a couple other girls that she used to go see. Corrine Benoni's dad had her kind of her own place. I remember me and Alia went there a couple times. But Alia only had 2 or 3, you know what they call girlfriends. No boyfriends ever came around our house. No boys ever. Grandpa wouldn't stand for it.
She had such a hard life.
Yeah. He did that to me one time on a traffic ticket. I'll take care of it. Yeah, well, first thing you know, the police come to get me at Edison Brothers. A no-show. I was a no-show. I told Dave Alton, the cop sitting there, and Dave Alton said, David, why didn't you pay that ticket? I said, I gave it to my dad. He said he'd pay it. The cop said, that's okay. Dave Alton gets on the phone and called Papa Weiss. He owned property in the city. He says, Pop, come up here. Papa Weiss, come up. He says, go with David, and the cop signed David's bail, and his dad didn't pay a ticket.
They knew who Joe was, didn't they?
Everybody. The girl at Edison Brothers told me my dad came down there and tried to get a date with her. He was down there to see Alia or see me, and he wandered in there, and Dave Alton's secretary said that he was hitting on her. I'd love to help him more than I can, but I'm not going to get in trouble over it. I'll give him what I can. In fact, I'm hoping someday I get him out of Dallas. He's never going to do good down there. He'll always be under the gun. He's under the gun down there all the time with those kids.
Did Mama know she was dying?
Oh, yeah. Sure, she knew it. I'm looking to see what I wrote down on here. Yeah, I got that. Okay. I told you about that. And then Grandpa pulled a cop off his horse one time downtown St. Louis. The cop told him to move his truck or something, and they got into it. And he reached up and grabbed the cop and pulled him down off his horse. Didn't get in any trouble, as far as I know.
We come from crazy people, Dave.
And he wrestled a bear in Gillespie. It had to be Gillespie. Somewhere.
And he saved that man who was drowning?
He saved him from drowning. Another time he came upon a wreck between Livingston and Staunton. A truck driver was trapped in a burn. His truck was burning, and he was burning alive, and Grandpa wanted to get his gun and kill him, and the cops wouldn't let him. Oh, he would have shot him. The cop says, no, you can't do that. He couldn't get the guy out, and he was smashed in there, and the truck was on fire, and they couldn't. He was wedged in there, I guess, under the front seat, and the fire was burning him up, and Grandpa wanted to shoot the guy. Yeah. Hey, I'm going to turn my chicken on. I want you to see how that works. Can we unhook me?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to jail. Or you going to go to the precinct, St. Louis County cops? I got the whole confession. Engelman, everybody. They can go back in my family history and connect me. They should be. We'll look and see if Jim's in there. Stuff like that, okay?
Now, what's that book called?
It's The Power of Birthdays, Stars, and Numbers, the complete personality reference guide. You can look up anybody in there. I do every once in a while. This is that book I told you. I thought I was getting Monet.
Manet.
Yeah. I'm not too wild about it, but boy, did he paint. And they all kind of look alike. I'm going to come over here so you can kind of see it. According to this book, these are a lot of his.
It's beautiful.
Oh yeah, he was pretty good. I've seen some of these, and I didn't know he did that much work. Look at that. Look at that black girl's face.
Wow.
I've seen.
And
You've
you know
seen
it's
it.
going to be even more beautiful in the real painting.
And it tells where they're at. It tells. I remember that. I've seen that 100 times. And it tells you here. There's a list of plates, the paintings in color, and then when I went to the back, they got all this stuff.
What is that?
This is work that he did. This is work that he did. I'm pretty sure. How could anybody do all that? That's that's a color plate. These must be all his. He painted all the time. Look at all this stuff. Isn't that something?
It really is. It's incredible.
That's the one we just seen. I can't believe it. It tells you all the stories about him. Something. All kinds of stuff in here. These are almost good enough. You could slice them out and put them in a frame. I don't know when this was printed. It's pretty old. Let's see. Let's see. 1967.
Where'd you get that?
One of my stores. $1. I think I paid $1 for that. But there's so much information in there, it was really worth it, okay?
Yep.
And then this is Impressionist first hand. It's like a little handbook. There's letters and pictures, drawings. There's one we just seen. Impressionist. There's that one we just seen, the guy, he's painting in the boat. Now that's Monet working on his boat. He would get out in that boat and paint. And this guy painted him in his boat doing that. These are blow-ups of some of his faces and stuff. Boy, I got a watercolor of some fruit in a glass bowl. Most beautiful thing you ever seen. I can't find it. And guess what? You know that little silk paintings I showed you of the World War I stuff? You know I had two.
Yeah.
I got one, can't find the other.
But it was a pair. It was that coral-colored silk.
Yeah, it was Verdun.
Yeah.
And I saw a thing on it. It's one of the most famous battles of World War I. Those two little things can be worth some money to a World War I collector. Where is the other one? I don't know.
You got so much stuff, Dave.
Oh, are you kidding?
Well, you collected beautiful stuff.
Yeah, but, you know, it's not organized or nothing. And here. Oh, this is a book for the materials of the artist for use in painting with notes on the techniques of the old masters. This tells you how to repair paintings, how to, the colors, what the colors mean, what kind of oil to use. This is for repairing paintings, restorations, pigments, easel pictures, grounds. Yeah.
When was that book made?
1934. And you know,
Before the war.
oh yeah. Well, let's see. It's about 80 years old, 75. Anyway, those old-time painters, they never had. Imagine they couldn't buy their paint in a tube or nothing. They had a mix, and I think they got people to do it for them, especially if they had. Now here's a whole chapter on mural painting. This is really interesting. Really interesting. Mural paintings, mural paintings, mural painting. Techniques of the old masters. God, how did... And... boy, could they paint. And the work they had to go through to do it. Am I still hooked up here?
Yep.
Okay, I'm going to back up here just for a minute. Now that's those 3 books there. And here, Alyssa bought these, believe it or not. You're going to have to back up a minute. I'll go see who that is. Oh, here's my phone. Here's my phone. Let's see. I don't want to answer that. That's Ricky's mom looking for somebody.
Your bell went off on your chicken.
Yeah, I'm going to turn it back on. See this? This is a box of postcards that Janine bought for $1 at a garage sale. It was not too far from here. These are postcards for this one girl all through her teens and on until she was, there's about 200 postcards here. And look at the address on this one. You know where I lived on Delmore? We're out next to Teen, where I was telling you about. Our address was 4474 Delmore. Look at the address on that. 4474.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And I've read most of these cards, and it's like going on vacation. These are postcards from all over the world. The one guy was in the Navy, and he sent cards all the time. All these people must have had money. They vacationed everywhere, Florida, Italy, everywhere. This is a Hollered American line, a tradition of excellence. This card was mailed in, a long time ago. Jerry, that was her name. She must have had a lot of friends. She got a lot of cards. See here? There's postcards from Rome and my daughter bought these. Here's the last supper card. Wasn't ever filled out. I got a couple of these. That's before they restored it. Look how ugly it is there. It needed all that work. Okay. Souvenirs of Paris. There's a bunch of cards in there of Paris. Oh yeah. I'm looking for one here that you might like to see. You've been all these places. Oh, here. Look at them old cars. There's an old Woody parked there. Jefferson City.
Wow.
It's an old Woody. Yeah. Anyway, I was looking for one here I wanted to show you. Canada, New Mexico. Anyway, you kind of get the idea. New Orleans.
Wow.
Is that, yeah, Canal Street. I don't think it looks like that now. Hey, but anyway, Janine got these for $1. I think $1.50 a box.
That's unbelievable, David.
Yeah, there's all kind of
That's
stamps in there.
yeah, that's just it. The stamps and the cards in those places that are gone.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to move these over to over here. Follow me around. I'm going to turn my cooker back on again. Okay?
Okay, I'm with you.
All right. See here now, it went off. I only had it on 20 minutes. Now watch. I'm going to dial that again and it'll start off again. See how it's starting to get brown on the top?
Yeah, it's amazing.
Now watch. I got it on 20 minutes. Next time it turns off, I'll probably turn it over and do the back. This gets really hot. That's circulating red hot air around there. I got it on 200 degrees. Okay? All right.
So do you want to go and look at that? Look at your trunk? If you do, I'll help you. If you don't, I won't bother it.
No, but I'll show you some other stuff. I can't find my trunk. I don't know where it's buried. I told you I got 2 of them. Here, back over here a minute. I'll show you the rest of the stuff on the table, and then I'll get done with that. Okay. This is, my friend painted that. Carol, she's a painter. That's one of her pictures. Okay.
It's pretty.
Yeah, she's pretty good. Carol Becker. But anyway, this is what book I got not long ago. The American Musical Theater. It tells about the first American theaters. Starts off with other places, you know. Can you see this?
Yeah, I can.
Okay.
I got it over your shoulder.
Okay. These are, I wanted to show you, these are the early days, almost like going back to vaudeville and stuff. And then, have you seen that picture, the artist? Okay, well, I'm going to show you something in here. Watch this. Pal Joey, The King and I, Annie, Get Your Gun. This goes back to the early ones, you know. And I get ideas out of that. This guy don't pull any punches. He tells you which ones were good and which ones weren't. You know, the Music Man, he was a trombone player in John Philip Sousa's band, Meredith Willson, and he wrote another play. But this guy didn't like the Music Man. He thought it was, he didn't like a lot of these plays. But when they got it coming, he tells you who the artists were, the Gershwins, what they wrote. But I wanted to show you this one picture. What they got paid, where the orchestra pit was, how many violins were in the and that Noel Coward, you know, he wrote a couple musicals. Yeah. And Truman Capote.
Truman Capote?
Yeah. He wrote the lyrics, the words and lyrics for some show. And I thought he just wrote books. Must have been pretty good. Oh, here. Who's that look like? Is that the artist?
Yeah. Who is it? Who is it?
Rudolph Front. Look, that's the artist.
It absolutely is, David.
Ain't that
Wait,
something?
let me get
Ain't that something? Now, could they have been a takeoff on him?
Sure, David. Sure, it could have been.
Because remember that
But you know what? Nobody knows that, but you know it because of your book.
He couldn't make it to the talkies. That was part of the deal. I don't know if that's Valentino, but anyway, that's from. That could be from Desert Song or one of them. But anyway, this is really interesting. And in the back, you can go back here and it tells you every. But see, this only went to the 70s. You can go to the back of this. Hell's a Poppin', Hit the Deck. These are all Broadway shows. That page. This page. Yeah. And there's Blackbird. There's a couple Blackbird mentions in here too. You know that?
No.
Yeah, Blackbird, yeah. It tells you all the, who wrote the lyrics for the different songs. What record you can buy to get the Showboat was the one that really got it started, according to him, and I do believe it too. A lady wrote the book Showboat, and then they made the musical out of it on stage. Then finally they made the movie, you know, with Ava Gardner acting like she was a half white, half black girl. She was in it. And the songs in there are really good. And Jerome Kern did the music. Him and Hammerstein did the music for Showboat later. Okay, I showed you that. This I got to show to my neighbor. An artist at age 97.
I saw that in the paper.
Did you really?
Yeah, I did. That woman, she always liked to draw, but she's
pretty good.
Yeah.
That's fun. Did you get that magazine, Monet? Did you go see this show?
Yes.
Was it good?
By accident.
Was
I didn't know it was there, and I walked into the art museum with
Yeah,
Ken.
I kept this. Okay, I got that. You ever get the Ladue News over there where you live?
No.
Oh boy, that's a good magazine. And here I saved this because I wanted to show this to this is the story of the Limp Mansion. Did you read that in the Post?
No.
Yeah. And the address was 2233. No, 3322 South 13th Street. And those are all the people that killed themselves in there. You know, that turned into a boarding house at one time. It was so weeds all over the place. It was run down. It was actually, they rented rooms out in there to people. It was a boarding house.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And now it's the big thing. It takes a lot of work. This was taken in 1922. Look at the kids on the street. And this is, you ever get this magazine?
No.
This has got a lot of good recipes in it. That's the Italian issue. You can have that one if you want. And then, here's today's USA Today, which I like. I get that every day. I can't afford the New York Times. And this guy here, when we get talking not about what we're talking about, I want you to look. This just came out. This guy and his pictures, he's at a studio. He takes pictures and makes collages and stuff.
What's the guy's name?
John Stetzker. He does these collages and stuff. Some fun, huh? You want to go home or can you stay a couple days? Call Jim. Tell him to pack you a suitcase. Okay, that's enough of that. Oh, Carlos gave me this book, that lady that just called. This is the damnedest thing. I didn't think it'd be interesting, but look at here. It goes way back to France when they made the statue. The molds, the face. This is the guy. And the guy that really has never been to New York. He sent somebody else over here to look for a spot to fix it. And you know, they had tours of it in France before it ever got here. People could go up in the head and they could go all around it, and they paid to see it. This is when it's getting ready to be shipped. That's the guys that are working on it. Look at the hand, how big it is there. And these guys are all working on it. One of the wonderful things, that's the first thing that our grandpa seen when he came on the ship that day, if it was daytime. But I imagine when they got close that they all come out on deck, even at night. Maybe they had it lit up. Look at that. Look at that. What a beautiful thing for people to see on their way in. What a beautiful thing. They're working on the, they wanted to get that island, you know. I always thought that it was, you know, on a lot of land. That's a little island out there. Did you go out there and see it?
Oh, yeah.
Did you?
I saw the Statue of Liberty.
Yeah. Yeah, there's the statue. Railroad magazine. Okay. Hey, that's about it right there. Hey, I want to put this out in the front room for a minute. Can we unhook for a minute so I can walk out there? Okay.
Wait a minute, I'll follow you.
All right. Here, come on.
Wait, you want to put that in the living room?
No, that's okay. I'm going to look at this for a minute. See my pins in there? These? They're really sharp, see?
Yeah.
That holds the legs up out of the way and the wings, and then you don't have to put any foil over it. You want it to just keep cooking.
It smells great already. I can't believe how fast it cooks.
Well, I'm taking my time with it. I could turn it up, but you can see you could probably eat some of it now right off the top. But in the next 5 or 10 minutes, it'll really brown up. And boy, is it good. And all the grease is dripping down in there. Easy to clean. This comes off. Soapy water in there. It's done. Okay. We can go this way, okay? See, I brought that lamp. That's a cloisonne lamp that was down in the basement, going to get broke, and I brought it up here. See it? That's.
Hold on, man.
I don't know if you ever saw that.
That's beautiful, David.
Come on over here and get a good look at it. I've got to clean it up. It's been down in the basement for a long time. See? We found that. I think Donna paid 25 or 30. Then we got a shade for. I don't like the shade. See, the shade's full of dirt. It was down in the basement, rolling around. It's going to get broke, and that's really hard to do. That's all hand done.
I know. Cloisonne is hard to
There's
do.
there's no machine that'll do that. Now we're going to go this way. Come on, step lively. That's some of my stuff. I had to get these out of the way, so I put them on the wall. I just hung them up there. That's those pretty.
They're beautiful, David.
Yeah, this one here. Oh,
It's beautiful.
how you like that? A nude. You notice I don't have her out front. Sunflowers, and that's more fish, like I got in this bathroom here. Come on out this way. That's Clayton. That's an old house picture that I found. I want to get that blowed up sometime. House picture. That's me down there by the
What
statue.
house?
We don't know. It was in a book. There's people there. There's people in that house. Look at that house. That's a typical old farmhouse. And then these are pictures.
How old are you in this picture? No, this one right here and this.
23. 23, something like that. That's Ricky's little girl there. And there's some old pictures there. Hey, there's my suitcase. I just bought that the other day for my trip. I don't have a suitcase.
For your trip to Dustin's wedding?
Yeah, look what I paid for it.
What?
$1.50. Am I going traveling or am I going traveling? $1.50. Hey, as long as you hooked me up, come on in here for a minute. There's my Tin Man. Ain't he cute?
I like him.
I like him too. And then up here is my Chinese stuff here. Whatever's there. There's my Buddha, the big Buddha back there. I want to take him to the Buddha show downtown. You know the Buddha show that's going on?
No.
You don't know they got a big Buddha show?
David, I'm the last to know.
It's in the Post today.
I haven't read.
And I like that picture too. But that is over 200 years old. He is. Yep. And then I got a small Buddha here. Down about that. That's a boy on a dolphin planter. Real down low. There's dolphins going all up the front of it. I think she paid $200 for that. I'll get my money out of that one of these days. But you know what? Here's something I bought her one time that she really liked. Was that little boy playing the flute on that ox? Oh yeah. What is this?
Wait, where's that? Oh.
That little guy back there. And this I can't find. Here's her check number. She paid $28.95, check $10.86 for this little Egyptian guy, and it's not here. I found this. I don't know whatever happened to it. Yep.
Maybe you moved them somewhere.
I don't know. These are rhinoceros horn.
They are?
Yeah, rhinoceros. This is the male, and there's the female. This is rhinoceros horn. I saw some rhinoceros stuff on the road show, and it was really expensive. I didn't like them. It was maybe better than this, but they were talking about thousands of dollars. So if this is real rhinoceros horn, which I think it is, maybe they're worth a couple $100. I don't know. Now, the rest of that's all junk. That's a turtle. Turtle. More stuff down there. See, more stuff down there. It's awful, ain't it? And here's my buddies right here. These are going to be sold.
Wait a minute, wait, stop.
Okay.
So you're gonna sell your food dogs?
Oh yeah, they're gonna go. I'm afraid they're gonna get broke. And if they get chipped or broke, you know, the value will go down quite a bit. And I don't want any patches. Right now there's no patches on. That I want to show you that. Here, well, as long as we're here, I'll show you now. Here, back this up. This here. Okay. You remember this. You and I and Jim looked at this, okay?
Yeah, that painting.
All right. Now, they got a black museum. They'd love to have this if this is a Denison. Is it a Denison? I don't know. Well, like we said, there starts the D right there. And then it's covered up a little bit. Is it a Denison? I don't know. I don't see why not. That's his style. And look, here's what I want to show you. That's that. Now, one day I was looking in the paper, and guess what?
Wow.
Now, this is a new bridge over it, but this could have been maybe at one time, I don't know. See?
I see what you're saying, David.
Mm-hmm. I think this was done in the New York area. I think it was in the Adirondacks or in Canada. I don't think there's anything like that where he went. He didn't go that far down south, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And that could be it, couldn't it?
Yeah.
Because he might not have put, this only got the one stream coming down, but he might only put one at that time to do it. How about that?
Pretty cool.
Okay. That's what I wanted to show you there. Now we can go back out this way. Come on, kid. We'll go back out here for a minute. Okay. Now, see how this is starting to come here and look at, you can see it bubbling on the top? Mm-hmm. I always give the breast more time. That's thicker, you know? But this was almost room temperature. It's almost room temperature when I got. They sell these really cheap now. You can get real good ones. There's one as cheap as 39 bucks. This one here costs about 100 by mail. You make 3 payments of $30 or something. But anyway, the better one of these is not that much more. But that is really good. Now in a little bit I'm going to turn that over. Okay. Now we can go back over this way for a minute. I'm going to go that way. Okay. We'll go over here and sit down for a minute. Now, what else you want to know while we're talking? We got a few minutes here.
What else do you have? Tell me about.
Go ahead, I'm listening.
Tell me about what you remember about Livingston.
Very mixed. They call them hunkies. There was Germans. Grandpa was the only one of any Syrian area there. They were Polish, German, not too many German, more Polish, Hungarian, some Italians. Okay. Now the miners that worked in the mine, they would come and go, but the townspeople that lived there all the time, they were probably mostly Polish and Hungarian and stuff. And then after the mine closed down during the Depression, it was really a tough place to live. No crime. The train went through there, going to St. Louis. And the jail was in the firehouse that I told you that you had to go there and ring the bell to get them to come. There was a one cell jail there. If anybody got in trouble, they could lock them in there a few times, and they would let people sleep in there. Bums, people would come through town and want a place to sleep. They could go to that building and sleep in that building because it was open all the time, so you could get in there. They had one little fire truck there, and they used to bring it out about once a week and drive it around, come up to the school, hook up to the pumper and pump water, and the dog would chase it. And on Saturday after World War II, on Saturday afternoon, this guy and his wife would come with a panel truck in this old dilapidated building, and they had a projector, and they would show a movie for a dime. You could go up there and sit on these wooden benches. They had no candy, no popcorn, and you just pay your dime and sit there and watch the movie, whatever they had.
What were the movies?
It's been so long ago, I can't remember. Probably a cowboy movie or something, but we would go up there and pay a dime.
Did Mama go?
No, she didn't go. They had a regular movie theater in Staunton, the Gem Theater. And Alia would go there once in a while, and Zainab. Grandpa went there one time.
What do you think of it?
I can't remember, but I don't think he was all that thrilled with it. He didn't like that kind of stuff.
Why didn't Mama go to those movies when they came to town?
Oh, it was mostly kids. There wasn't anybody, no big girls there. There was little kids, boys and girls. They had a panel truck. And then one time my Uncle Allie and Grandpa, we went up by the firehouse, and we had a medicine man come there. An old medicine man, a one-man show, and he lit a blowtorch, and he was selling this salve, and he had like a little tent behind him, and he had some benches, and when it got dark, everybody went up there to see the medicine man show. First and last one I ever seen. And he would put that blowtorch on his foot, and then he would put the salve on and tell you how good it was, and he would sell the salve like for 50 cents a container. Yeah. And then they had an auction every once in a while across the street from us. The farmers would bring in stuff, and me and Allie and Grandpa went over there one time, and they bought me a goat.
A goat?
Yeah, they bought me a goat for $1. A little baby goat about that high, and we brought him home. He grew up and would stand on people's cars and chase kids down the alley. And this one kid, we had a rooster one time. He used to chase this kid when he'd walk past our place. And he told my grandpa, he says, God damn it, he says, first it was your damn rooster, now you got a goat. And I remember one of the girls came to visit one time, either Dolores or Eileen or somebody, and they pulled their car in our garage, and we were inside talking, and when we came out, the goat was on top of their new car, standing on top of it. See this tree here? That's a tulip tree. It's real pretty when it grows up. It's been hit by lightning once. I planted that. I bought that tree right there, and I planted that tree there. It was real small, only about that high. It's been 20 years, and look how nice it is. You should see the leaves on that thing, most beautiful thing. I love tulip trees. Anyway, let's see what else. Oh, when Grandpa got the store, we were a block from the railroad station where his stuff would come in, like stoves, and it would be in crates, and he would go up there and carry that stuff back to the store, big heavy stuff, on his back. Yeah. And he had a truck, but he would go up there. They'd call him and say, you know, hey, Mr. Abraham, something came in, and they'd unload it onto the dock there. It was paid for. And he would go up and pick up his stuff. He had a lot of stuff shipped in. And the kids, a lot of times they'd laugh and watch him lifting up stuff and carrying it back to the house, to the store.
So there were two stores. There was, I mean, he was a peddler when Gaggy met him, right?
Right.
And then how did he happen to get,
Eventually he went to Livingston and opened a store. And that's where, that first store down on Main Street in Livingston, that's where he probably brought my dad and Gaggy. And then he moved from there to the big store.
do you have any idea when that happened?
All right, we can go back. Let's see, my dad's birthday is 1913. So it had to be around 1918, when he was about 5 or 6. 1918 or 1919 when he went with them. Well, he was in school, so it could have been 19, 19 or 20. I mean 19, 19 or 20. He would have been 7 when he came with his grandma.
Mama wasn't born for 14 years. There's 14 years difference there. So it was Zainab was born in, what, 24? And then Allie, and then Mama in 27. Do you know what year Allie was born?
I think so. Allie was, Let's see. This is my, I keep track of a lot of things in here. It's a book I got. Let's see, I'm going to go to 217. That'd be February the 17th. Okay. 16th. Ali Farhat's birthday, February the 17th. He was 62 in 1987. So, you're going to have to subtract 62 from 87.
He was born in 25.
Okay.
And then Mama in 27.
Okay.
And Joe in 13.
Okay.
Do you know when Grandpa was born?
You know what? I don't even have the date in here when he died. I know it was 56, but I don't have any other information on it. I didn't keep this book then. I'm figuring that he was 18 when he left there, and he came here. Was it 1904?
He came in 1904?
I think so. So if you go back 18 years, that would be, go back to 1900, he would have been minus 4. He'd have been 14 from 1900. That would have made him around
86.
86. 86.
And Gaggy was born in 88.
Uh-huh.
What was his birth date?
Don't know.
You don't know the month? Didn't you guys celebrate it?
Oh, hell no. I never had a birthday party until I got married. Nobody celebrated birthday. I never had a birthday party. Let me go back. Let's see. Yeah, I got you in here. I'm looking to see if anybody else in here. Nah, I keep track of a lot of stuff in this book. Donna's brother died in 1979, Butchie. Man, don't seem that long ago. But that's what I know about Allie. He was 62 in 1987. Okay.
So Gaggy, there was a year in there when she didn't have. I know she had an abortion. Gaggy did. Maybe it was in 26.
Why would she do that?
I don't know. I'm almost positive about that, David.
Your mom tell you that? I'll have to ask Zany.
Yeah.
Unless she was sick or things weren't going good. Maybe she lifted a lot of stuff. She worked in the store all the time. She run the store up front while he was, doing his thing, but they call her Mrs. Abraham.
Was she happy there?
I think so at that time. She met a lot of people coming in the store and stuff. She was running the store, basically. She was probably better at the paperwork and that than Grandpa was. I got some of his accounting books where he was keeping track in a steno book of things that he bought and sold and this and that, and there was a lot of mistakes in the math.
Gaggy used to tell me that when people would come in the store and Mama was a little girl, she was so sensitive. And Gaggy used to think, oh, please don't talk to the baby. Gaggy used to tell me that. Because she said if anybody talked to Mama, she'd start crying. Did you ever hear that?
No.
How do you think Gaggy felt about Joe and Allie?
Disappointed, probably, both of them. But she told me in the hospital, when right before she died, her and I were having a talk one time, and she said, one thing I wish I could have done, she said, I wish I could have done more for the children, which didn't include Allie. It's probably the other ones, and Zainab and Alia, not my dad and Allie. She said, I wish I could have done more for the children. What more could she do? She didn't have nothing. Didn't have any money. Didn't have a checking account, no car, nothing. She had a hat she could wear once in a while, but she had to go once in a while and do stuff, you know. But my grandpa never had a watch. He never had a ring. Grandpa Abraham didn't have a watch. I don't even think he had a wallet, you know, like most men carry today. And he didn't, in his truck, he never had a radio, never had a heater, no defrosters. They didn't come with all that stuff. No heater in that truck. No defrosters, no radio, no turn signals. You had to stick your hand out the window, you know. And, yeah.
Do you think about them much?
Oh, yeah. Every day. Every day. I think about them. How hard they had it. When it didn't have to be like that. He could have packed up and left Livingston and started a store here in St. Louis. Today it might have been like Deerberg's or Snooks. Why in the hell he ever went to Livingston? But I just don't think he liked that. He didn't like the people. I don't think he liked St. Louis. Why in the hell he worked for Bemis Bag downtown when he first got here. Some Arabian people, I think he came here, they got him a job at Bemis Bag. He didn't work there very long. And then I think he got enough money to go downtown to Eli Walker and those places and buy stuff. And I don't know how big a sack he could have had on his back peddling. Maybe he had catalogs. He could go back to St. Louis if somebody wanted something. They didn't know what was going on in those small towns. He could show them pictures of things that maybe were for sale in the city and maybe get a little down payment and then eventually get back to St. Louis and buy it and bring it back to him and make a few dollars. But I don't think he did that very long because all of a sudden he comes up with the car and money. And to buy a Studebaker convertible in those days.
Like when was that that he had the Studebaker?
When my dad, that would have been 19... And Dad was born 1931, and he was about 5. Would have been probably 1918.
When Grandpa came to America, did he go straight to St. Louis? I mean, and why
Yeah.
St. Louis?
There was some Syrian people here. They had a connection. You had to know somebody
To get here.
Yeah. He probably was in New York maybe till the next train for St. Louis. But he got off the boat, went through Ellis Island, and then he went to a place where you could get something to eat, and he couldn't talk. And the only thing he could buy, he could say sardines, and he bought some sardines and crackers. He didn't have, I don't think he had I don't even know if he had American money. He probably only had $10 or $15 on him, or less. And he got it. He must have. I don't even think he stayed overnight there. He headed for St. Louis.
Did he see the World's Fair?
I don't think so. My grandpa did. My uncle, my grandpa Dickie, he went to the World's Fair. Him and some of his friends. I think the World's Fair was winding down when Grandpa got here. When it went into fall, it started in 1904 in the spring, and in the fall, it closed down. It was just that one summer.
But so that's when he came, was in the fall of '04?
I think so. I can look on the date on that ship manifest and see when that date was on there. There's a picture of the ship on there,
On the manifest? There's a picture? Do you know the name of the ship?
Denise got it somewhere.
Okay.
But it listed him on there.
What about...
What about his cousin or his nephew that came with him? You know, he wasn't by himself. Well, two of them came, and the one kept going to South America. He wouldn't get off here. But I don't know if it wasn't. I don't think he was a Farhat. But he was relation. He was my grandpa's nephew.
Did Nazar, when you met with Nazar, did he tell you anything about the Farhats? What did he say?
He said that they didn't want to come into the city limits of Beirut because they would have to join the National Guard. So they stayed right outside the city line, and they lived on what is now, or either owned what is now, the Beirut airport. In that, on those grounds, that's where they lived. And then my grandpa rode a horse from, he was in some kind of a home guard or something. He did ride a horse from one outpost to another when he was younger, when he was 17 or 18. He rode a horse between a couple things.
And I remember Mama telling me that he used to fish with dynamite.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Off the cliffs, yeah, they would go up on the cliffs and throw dynamite down into the water, and when they blew up, the fish would come up, and then they'd dive in and catch them. Yeah. You know, in Beirut, you could fish in the mornings and that, and then go up in the mountains and ski at the same time, same day. It was mountains, snow on top, and then warm down below. And there was colleges there at that time and everything, a lot of colleges in Beirut, Christian colleges.
But he wasn't Christian, so he wouldn't go to them.
No.
What kind of person was he? I mean, you knew him. I don't have any memory of him except being dead.
Oh, he's real kind and gentle man. Real kind and gentle, strong, big, tall, good looking. Grandma said he was the handsomest man she ever seen. So, but anyway, he was real gentle, friendly to everybody. Liked to talk to people. One time, this one store guy told me that he came out of the store and it was lightning and thunder and heavy thunderstorm, and he said, your grandpa picked up this cat, and he was standing there holding that cat under the awning of the store. And it was raining like hell. He couldn't even get to his truck. It was raining so hard. But he picked up that cat and was holding that cat while it was storming. You know, he loved cats. The dogs too, but he was a cat man. He loved the cats. He had about 9 or 10 of them.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, in Livingston he had 9 or 10. And they always had cats at the old place. Your mom had one too.
What was the name of her cat? I have a picture of her.
Well, we had Tip, T-I-P. We had him. But she had some female. Tip was a male. He was a mean old sumbitch. He didn't like anybody. But Alia had a couple of female cats, and every once in a while they'd come in bringing their kittens. And when one of them died, that's the first poem I wrote. I wrote a poem about Alia's cat dying. Oh. I remember that just as clear as a bell. And at that time, I would have only been about 5 or 6. Yeah, about 5 or 6. And I was driven to write her a poem because she felt bad about her cat, so I wrote her a poem about her cat.
What did her cat die of?
Old age, or get run over by a car or something down there, or around the garage or something, you know.
What do you think of Mama and Gaggy's relationship? My thought was that Gaggy loved her better than she loved anybody in the world.
I think so. Yeah, they were really close. And then my dad, no love lost, I don't think, for Allie. When he was young, yeah, she's worried about him in school and when he went to the Navy, but Alia and my dad were the ones, you know.
That Gaggy liked best.
Oh, yeah. Nobody else, I don't think. Her and I were real close, but I think my dad and Alia, they were so excited when my dad would come, you know, to the place, you know. He always had stories to tell. We went to Livingston on the train one time from Union Station. It was terrible. He thought it'd be a thrill to take the train to Livingston. Well, we got on at about 12 o'clock. We got there at 3 in the morning. It stopped everywhere. He cussed all the way. And we went to Union Station. Remember, he bought me a slinky, you know, those things that go down the steps. And we got on the train, and that son of a bitch, it stopped everywhere. Dang, dang. We finally got to Livingston, and we got off. It was the middle of the night. But they were always glad to see my dad. Yeah.
I remember that. I remember, like when we were in Chicago, and he was supposed to come up, and how happy they'd be.
Oh, yeah. Joe. Everything was Joe.
Everything was Joe, you're right.
Yeah, Joe's coming. And they always waited for him. And he came in a lot, like on the weekends and stuff, to see Grandma and I guess when he wasn't working.
When he was a bartender and we were living on the old Manchester, he used to come by in the morning and give Gaggy some of his tips. He had a lot of money, a lot of silver. You know.
Yeah. He could have made some of himself. Him and Allie. A life wasted. He could have been a car salesman. He could have gotten real estate. And one time he went to work for Dad's root beer. He worked for 7-Up. He used to drive the 7-Up truck, and when we lived in the old store in Livingston, he'd pull in there and give us bottles of 7-Up, no cans in those days. He worked for 7-Up. Later on in life, when we lived in the city, when he left the bus company, he worked for Dad's Root Beer, putting up Dad's Root Beer signs.
I remember he sold cigars once. He lived with us when we were on the old Manchester. Remember, he lived in the living room. We had a fold-out couch.
Yeah.
And he lived there for a while.
Yeah, he worked for that. And then he worked in a grocery store in Wellston one time. And then he worked for the bus company. Then he went to Peoria and drove a buses in, and eventually to Chicago driving a bus. Him and Allie, you know. But they could have done a lot better.
Why didn't they?
I don't know. They just didn't want to be tied down in one spot. Allie worked in a coal mine in White City when he got out of service, out of the Navy, and he couldn't stand it. They had to be out moving around. Yeah. I'm going to go over and turn my chicken over. You want to watch?
I'm watching you with your chicken.
All right.
Hold on, wait.
Okay, I'm going to cut over this way. All right, hang on. This baby's going to get turned over.
Smells great.
Oh, yeah, it's done on this side, see?
It's beautiful.
Now, what I got to do is be real careful and take this top off and turn it over. And that calls for this. La-dee-da-da-do-da-do-da-do-da-do.
Are you getting tired, David?
No, I feel pretty good. But see, I've been getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning with that daughter of mine.
Does it make you sad to talk about Mama and Gabe?
No, no, heck no. That don't make me sad. You know what? I feel like they're around all the time. I don't care what anybody says. I feel like Donna's around a lot. Sometimes I hear stuff around here. And I dream about people, you know. There we go. Hang on, David. I dream about people all the time. I don't think I've ever had a dream about you. Ken and Zainab, one night, Ken and I were fishing, going along the river, and Zainab was behind us. And we went to somewhere, and Zainab bought some golf clubs. And I said, how are we going to get them in the car? And we were talking. Yep.
You dreamed about them since they were dead?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. About 3-4 weeks ago. I got that wing caught down in there. Get him out of there. Get this out of here. You got to know how to do this. Okay. See, I turned it over. Now, cook it on that side for a little bit. Not even much juice coming out of that. But see, I soaked this in brown vinegar and salt. This was a frozen chicken at one time. Okay? And what I do, I soak it whole in cold water, thaw it out, and then when it gets good and thawed out, I put vinegar, a good shot of brown vinegar and salt, and that kills the salmonella, any germs that might be in it. Let it soak in that for an hour or so, and then I rinse it in cold water, let it set a little bit, and I rub it down with oil and whatever seasoning I want, and I got an orange in the stomach of it right now. I cut an orange in half that I saved. It was an orange that nobody was going to eat, and I threw it in the freezer, and then I cut it in half this morning, and I shoved it up his butt. Okay. If you play your cards right, you'll get some of this. Poor Jim over there eating bologna. Okay, let me have one half a cigarette, and then if you can turn that off. We can't go down the steps with that too good, but we can go down there in a little bit, okay?
Okay.
There's a couple paintings down there I want to show you.
Okay.
What do you think of that waterfall picture? You think that could be where that was at?
It could be. It looks so similar, David. It looks so similar. You really need to have somebody at Selkirk's or the art museum look at it.
Don't you think if they put the proper light on there? Well, see, once I find out if it's DENNISON, I'm in business. But definitely it starts off DE. What the hell else could it be? It's the time period. It's the way he painted the waterfalls and the scenery and the trees. I think it's about a 75% chance that it's his. And that other one I got in there, that's even older. That goes back, that was a copy. Remember that tavern scene, the guys playing cards and stuff? That goes back, the original artist on that made a picture like that. And then the guy I got, he made a copy. And I found out since then that a lot of people would tell artists like him, I want a picture like that. Make me a picture like that one there. And they did. They made a lot of copies of other guys' works.
Wow.
And that's what that says on there. This is a copy of so-and-so, and this is the painter here. But the painter here, some of his work is in the museum in Munich, Germany, in a museum. And just, you know, do they really want something like that? There's so much stuff out there. I don't know. Do they really want something like that? Now, the Denison, if that's a black painter, they just opened up that black thing at the Smithsonian. They might like to have, he was the first black artist of the time. I mean,
right.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Okay, let me go over there and have a cigarette, and in about 15 minutes, oh, buddy, is that going to be good? Am I still hooked up?
You're
I got to
hooked
go
up.
this way. I'm going to jail next week.
You're not going to jail.
What do you want to drink? Hey, I got some wine. You like a little bit of wine before you have your chicken?
I'm good. And I don't want any chicken. I'm good. Hold on. Let me move this around.
You're not going to eat none of my chicken.
Hold on, Dave. What's your hand?
Lissa's coming home. I told her I'm fixing that chicken.
When is she coming home?
May it's 2. Hey, Keith's going to be here in about 45 minutes. You see my man, the singer. Clayton was on TV last night.
I know. You told. Well,
Yeah.
I didn't know it was last night.
No,
but
he came out and they told him that he did real good, but he didn't make it through. He was a lot. There was 40 people there. He was in the top 40. Then they cut down to 24, and that's when he got kicked out.
But still, he made it through hundreds and hundreds.
Over 100,000 people showed up to try to get on that show. And, you know, he's got some guy that wants to be his agent and wants to take him to Atlantic City to a recording studio there and talk to some people. Plus, we got a big recording studio here in St. Louis. That guy Nelly just spent $1 million on a recording studio downtown where people can come and do their stuff. And if he comes to St. Louis, he can go down there and poke around. And, you know, he can honestly say, you know, he was on American Idol. He was a finalist. What's wrong with that? So, we still on?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to try to think of a couple more things here. I'm trying to think. One time.
Did you ever go? Well, go on.
Go ahead. You asked me
Did you
first.
ever know Gaggy's parents?
No. No, her daddy died at the house. Grandpa didn't like him, and
Why?
I don't know. There's a lot of people he didn't like. I guess because Grandma brought him there when he was sick, and he was in that room there that caught fire later. But that's where he died, in that room. And Grandpa, he didn't have time to. I guess whoever, he couldn't socialize with my grandpa. At one time, Grandpa, he got better and better at his English, but probably back in the at that time, I don't think, you know, he got real good people wise later, but it took, when I knew him, it was in the 40s and 50s. That was a long time after he got here, but he could talk. He picked up a lot of languages from Livingston and in the stores and stuff. He could understand what people were saying. I don't think he was real good in it.
What about what did Grandpa Brant die of?
Don't know, but Grandma had to have him buried, and I found the. Boy, I'm so damn dumb, but I was just a kid. There was a cardboard box up in the attic at the one house, and it had letters and receipts, and there was receipts in there for 25 cents to Latosky, the funeral guy. She would send him a quarter, and he'd send her a receipt. She paid 25 cents every now and then toward that funeral. Grandpa didn't pay for it, all of it. She had her dad buried probably on credit. And he went to Spangler, which was, farmer donated all that land for a cemetery there. You know where Spangler's at.
Yeah, I was there. That's where Mama and Gabby are both buried.
Yeah, Miss Hartnett and a lot of people that I knew came to see Grandma. There's people that got their pictures in some of those tombstones. It's eerie. Me and Kim went there one time and put in a tombstone. And Ken had to leave me there and go get some water to mix the concrete and stuff. And the old man Shooty came down to the cemetery. He seen the car, and he lived on the hill, and he kind of took care of the cemetery. And you know, they can use money, you know, to cut the grass, and I don't think anybody ever gives them any money. But I'll tell you what, you spend an afternoon in a cemetery, in a small town cemetery, for an hour or two, it's really weird.
Why?
You know, you're walking around all those dead people.
I'm listening to you.
You walk around all those dead people, a lot of them you knew. And Miss Hartnett came about every other Sunday to visit Grandma. She'd spend the afternoon. Her boy Billy would drop her off there, then he'd go somewhere and come back and pick her up about 5 o'clock. She had company, and on the other store, a lot of people came to see her there. They knew she was there in the back of the store. Miss Feck, and she always had a fur with those little fox heads on it, the little fox heads, little tiny fox heads, and a big old fur, and they always fascinated me. But she would come, Miss Hartnett would come, no men, mostly women, and they would talk, you know, and Grandma would be doing her thing. And then I was there a lot of that time. One time when Grandpa he had to stay at a boarding house, and I guess when he went to either Livingston or Gillespie, and it came supper time, it came time to eat. Most of the guys were working in the mine. Grandpa never did go down in the mine. Never, he never did. But anyway, when it come time to eat, the ladies putting out all the food around, and Grandpa sat down, and it was time, and they told him, "Oh, you can't eat until the dummy eats." And he said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well, we can't eat till he eats. He gets to eat first." It was a deaf and dumb guy that was boarding there, and so Grandpa waited and waited, and finally the guy showed up, or he was close by, and as soon as he took a seat to sit down, or the benches or whatever, Grandpa beat him to it and started putting stuff on his plate. And the guy says, "No, no." Well, the fight started. He beat the hell out of that guy, pulled him off the chair, And those guys were scared to death of him. And Grandpa beat the shit out of him. He ran up the steps. He beat him all the way up the steps. Because they guys told him ahead of time that this guy was really mean and tough. And when they got up to the top of the steps, the guy, he was on his hands and knees begging Grandpa not to kill him. Grandpa was young and strong, and that's the story I heard. Yep.
How did Mama feel about Grandpa?
Your mom? Oh, she's crazy about him.
I thought she was afraid of him too.
Oh, no. They were real close. Allie and Grandpa were real close. Wonder who this is. Hello. Yeah, I know. Janine just gave blood not too long ago. About a month ago. About a month, I think. Okay, December, January. Well, maybe a month and a half, yeah. Can she give again? Oh, okay. I'll tell her. Okay. All right. That's the Red Cross. Where you at, kid? That was the Red Cross, and Janine gave in December, and I thought it was a month and a half. She said, no, it was in December. I said, can she give again? Oh, yeah, she's eligible. I don't like her to give, but she's so tired, and it runs her down maybe for a couple days. So, but she likes to give. She's got the kind of blood that anybody can get.
Oh, really? What's
Yeah.
her blood type?
Janine's, it's one that anyone can use.
Like O?
Probably, or something like that.
Oh, geez, that's great. Do you remember, how were my parents getting along when my mom was expecting me? Because Gaggy told me that nobody knew she was pregnant at work. You knew that?
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
I didn't even know she was.
Nobody knew she was pregnant?
I don't think so. A lot of women can do that.
But why didn't she tell anybody?
I think she wanted to work right up until the last minute, and she did.
But why didn't she tell her family? I mean, why didn't she tell you guys?
None of our business, I guess. But after you were born, she walked out of the hospital by herself, went back to work in a day or so, and left you there for a little bit. We all thought you were going to croak. They thought you were going to die.